Hi everybody, hi every spirit, welcome very much to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about Jupiter in Cancer for 2025. Thank you for being here, I hope you enjoy. Remember to leave like and subscribe, and let's get into business. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, so warnings, new feelings, new emotions, new desires, new moods, new places of comfort, new wisdom and knowledge, new travels, new connections, and new ways to expand in general might go too far, or at least just the feelings of it. Maybe you're not traveling that much, maybe you're not expanding that much, but you feel like, bro, I'm going to lose my mind, I'm going to lose my heart, I'm going to lose my relationship, I'm going to lose my house if things keep expanding like this, and you just exalted, or your ability to perceive what's going on is exalted into emotions and feelings. But in general, this is a great alignment for expansion of love to yourself, caring about yourself, caring about your principles. There is a reason why I say that the sextile between Cancer and Taurus is the most powerful sextile because they both have very strong moon energies. So they both are really about your core set of values, what you value in yourself, what you value in the world, what you want to bring forth into the world, especially with Cancer because it's new waters, new current, new life, while Taurus is more supporting and taking care of what's already there. And also, great time to expand into spirituality, into new awarenesses of the subconscious realm, identifying new sea creatures, aka new animalistic natures, new feelings and new emotions that you have within you, right? Expand your purpose, expand your connection to your purpose or to the purpose of something that you're taking care of, expand into the ability to create new ways to expand because expanding can be done in different ways, right? Maybe you were just doing something for the sake of doing it. Maybe you were just with somebody for the sake of being with somebody, and now you're going to be expanding in new emotional, moody, and very deep ways about those things. Also, really good to expand how the ability for you to derive meaning, to derive purpose of something, not just you and your own purpose expanding, but also you might be now seeing more purpose, seeing the meaning behind others' actions, behind whatever you're building on, behind the past that you have been going through, or about a current situation that perhaps you are not giving enough value, or you were not dedicating yourself so much, you are not finding that purpose. Now it's a great time to create a new one, not even find it. You know what I'm saying? Expand in a way where you create your own. And in the end of the day, a great time to expand your wisdom and knowledge, right? How you are connected, how are you purposeful, how are you spiritual about wisdom and knowledge, about your own wisdom and knowledge, about wisdom and knowledge that you can retrieve and accumulate from just your emotions and feelings, your places of comfort, your familiar places, your moods, and your pleasures. And you are going to see also in this stream how Jupiter in Cancer is aligning with the rest of the natal chart. But to get started, I took a tarot card and a dragon oracle card. So here we go. The tarot card is the Seven of Wands. So this means that we are separating and detaching from old visions, old feelings, old imaginations, all the expressions and actions and spirituality, creativity, and spiritual belief systems in general, so we can be inspired, connected, or just create new visions, new excitement, new passions, new frustrations, new ways to be creative or entertaining, or just in general separating from one space to go into a new space spiritually, or this can be doing as well or dealing with spiritual belief systems, faith, and belief in general. Maybe you are separating from an old belief system or from a part of that belief system so you can get a better wisdom and knowledge, so you can get a better spiritual belief system, so you can get a better faith and belief in yourself. And how is the best way to use and make profit out of this alignment, out of this detachment, this harsh angle, right? That's a seven. It's like this and like that. So it's a harsh separation, a harsh corner. We have the dusky pink dragon from Andromeda. And this is totally Jupiter in Cancer. This is about love, about connection, about value, and that right now is expanding, but it's also in new ways. So you might be nervous, unsure, unfamiliar, or just inexperienced in how to deal or create so much love, so much value, so much purpose. Because, but that's the goal of this alignment. That's the goal of this separation. Separate from old spiritual belief systems, separate from old visions, feelings, perspectives, and imaginations to go into new spaces, into new spiritual belief systems, into new wisdom and knowledge where you can love yourself to the utmost of your capabilities, where you can create love, you can create value, you can create purpose, and you can create profitable and purposeful connections. That's the goal and the best way to use that separation. And this card really represents well the dusky pink dragon of Andromeda really represent well Jupiter in Cancer. It's really expanding, and not only expanding, but keyword creating. Cardinal water, creating new waters, new feelings, new emotions, new dreams, and new imaginations that are the love, that are the value. But remind yourself that Cancer is ruled by the moon. So these things should come first from and firstly be about your own realm, your own perspectives, your goddamn self, right? Like there is the usual saying, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anything else. If your cup ain't full, you can share the water. And that makes a lot of sense actually. And in here, with Jupiter in Cancer, is really time to expand in that love, even in that pleasure, but also a little bit or more on the negative angle. You can expand on your moods, you can expand on your revenges, on your grudges, or on proving somebody else wrong or proving yourself right, and then do that in an impactful way, do that in a hurtful way, show them to not mess with you if they come into your house, esoterically speaking, with their dirty shoes, and then they don't take the shoes off. You're gonna release your hounds, and they're gonna bite the shit out of that person that came into your house with the shoes dirty. You know what I'm saying? But maybe that person didn't even knew that they couldn't come into your house with the shoes dirty. That's, you might be expanding too much into emotions and feelings, dreams and illusions, moods and places of comfort, and you might not be able, or you might just forget to communicate, to be relatable, to be sensible, to be in common sense, to be normal, quote unquote, right? Because actually, normal is basically a detached definition of balance. You know what I'm saying? And I even think that the normal term in mathematics has something to do with like the middle of something or the most common thing. So finding that balance, finding that way so you can reach your new emotions and feelings, your new expansions, and your new wisdom and knowledge, and connect them to the world and make it a part of the world in the right way. Right? More negative things, for example, about Jupiter in Cancer, you might just expand too much into uncertainty, into the nervousness of you having these new feelings, and especially that's why Cancers and Aquariuses sometimes are a bit weird. And even though they encourage each other, they actually share a lot, and they're a bit weird for different reasons. But they can be weird and relatable and caring at the same time. That's what they share in common. But Cancer is like about the moon, right? About water, comfort, familiarity, and connection. But then it's cardinal, so it creates new ones. So when you create new places of comfort, are they really comfortable? When you create new familiarities, are they really familiar? Like, do you know these streets? You just moved to a new town. How are you supposed to feel comfortable there? You don't know your neighbors, you don't know where is the good spot to get some coffee, how to get some good grub. You know what I'm saying? And it's like sometimes Cancer energy makes you, or you just do that by yourself, do that thing of like creating a new sense of security, emotionally speaking, and create new feelings and emotions within places where you already built comfort and emotional status and reputation. Okay, within your relationships, or you had a support system, or you were able to attract something in a consistent way. And then, boom, Jupiter in Cancer, now you are expanding not on those things that you accumulated before, but on your ability to create new things to attract and be attached to. And that's really like that can make cancers on edge. That's why cancers are so moody, because they super quickly feel uncomfortable or insecure. Because as soon as they are, not as soon, right? That's an exaggeration. Jupiter exalted, right? But as soon as they are in a comfortable space, boom, they create a new one. As soon as they're in a good feeling, boom, they create a new one. It's like, you know, how are they supposed to really feel familiar and to really feel comfortable and secure? Use Capricorn. Instead of creating new moods and new emotions and new feelings, or not instead, but with that, create new structures, create new routines and patterns, create new limits and boundaries that represent and encapsulate the feelings, the emotions, the connections, and the purposes that were valuable to you. Because that's an advantage of Cancer, and especially of Jupiter in Cancer right now, is if you are in the gutter, it's really easy to create a new emotion and feeling to get you out of the gutter. Especially with Jupiter now, it's really easy to expand on your ability to create new feelings and emotions. So if you were in a very toxic situation, if you were in the same situation for a very long time, now it's super easy to get out of it. You just make sure to separate from that vision, separate from that space, to go into a place of love, abundance, and spiritual connection. And not only Jupiter is in a cardinal sign, Saturn as well. So the real world, the structures that bring profit, the associations that bring reputation and status, and what's considered normal, what's considered stable, what's considered the right thing to do, that is changing too. So right now, it's the perfect time to change your values or how you value yourself, to bring them more purpose, to create new purposes, to create new spiritual travels and destinations, because cancers are represented in tarot for the chariot. So it's not just create a new space for you to go, you create the space, the road, and the vehicle, and then you go. You know what I'm saying? And so the real world is changing, and how we obtain wisdom and knowledge, how we travel, and how we create our own personal testimonies, that is changing too, in a more exalted way, in a faster way, in a way that is harder to predict and harder to control. But it's super powerful. But with great power, I mean, comes great responsibilities. With great purpose comes great work. The opposition, Capricorn. If you have a big purpose, most likely there is nothing or very little in this world representing it, ready to support it. If you have a very unique and powerful purpose, there will not be a lot of people that can help you with that. Because most people are in a more common, quote unquote, oversoul type thing. And the most unique, the most powerful your purpose is, the least amount of people will be able to relate and help you on the get-go. And then it's your job, spiritually speaking, to make it work, to make it make sense, and create a structure where others come in to participate, enjoy, and pay attention and currency to what you have built out of your purpose. But the bigger your purpose is, the bigger the structure, the bigger the stage you have to build. You know what I'm saying? But in the end of the day, it will always be profitable. That's emotional profit. And that's actually another thing from Jupiter in Cancer, expanding your emotional and spiritual profit. Because what's the point of working really hard? What's the point of being really organized and being efficient? What's the point of always being clean and looking good and having a good status? is to feel a certain way, is to be a certain way, is to see yourself in a certain way, is to be in a space that is really good for you and not just feeling good, not just la 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 and kumbaya, but it's really, in the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal of you creating something. It's to share it with others and to be proud of yourself. So that's spiritual profit. Physical profit is money, status, power, or just the ability to live a good life and still survive and being able to do what you want. And that's really the connection point to spiritual profit, because having a balanced life and do whatever you want is extremely connected to you as a spirit being fulfilled, being free, vibing high, vibing in your own vibe, vibing in your own way. Because if you're working too much, if you have too much pressure and too much responsibility, if you have the wrong eyes on you, if you are on the wrong neighborhood, spiritually speaking, you can't be free. You can choose when to have responsibility. You can choose when you want to work. Spiritually speaking, you're always stressed, you're always carrying other things with you that do not resonate with your personal core set of values. So, having a lot of money, having a lot of power, having a lot of status rarely means spiritual satisfaction, rarely means spiritual, aka or not aka. What I mean is in the way that things were being done in the old world. We're now changing into a new world, into Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn in Aries. So the goal is shifting, and it has we have been seeing that slowly but surely, but it's now for real changing into you having the most money possible, the most amount of money possible, while having a good life, while keeping your integrity, your sanity, your quirks, your preferences, be like allowing yourself to be lazy, because then you know when you're in your bag, when you're in your purpose and creativity, you can make more than enough money to allow yourself to be lazy, for an example. Or like doing what you want because what you have been built in terms of structure and profit supports that, and not only supports that, it actually makes it better. You know what I'm saying? It actually is connected, because one thing that the older generations these days had to go through is that they almost never worked in something that they liked and enjoyed. Almost nobody worked accordingly to their purpose. Almost nobody worked into their creativity, personality, personal interests, and personal personality, personal interests, and just personal preferences, right? So the goal now is to work as much as possible, make as much money, get as much power, and get the best situation possible in areas that are your personal interests, your personal insecurities, and your personal preferences in general. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the really ultimate, one of the ultimate goals of being a spirit, is to create something so you can learn about yourself, so you can have a good time, so you can see other spirits. But that something, that creation, or how you use that creation, must be mirroring you. So, yeah, the goal is to have the best fulfilling, the best expensive, but still real and practical experience possible. Because if it's not real or practical, it will be too chaotic, and you'll not be able to spend enough time in that space to feel fulfilled and gain experience to then build a better form or a better life next. Because if every time you create something it's immediately destroyed, or it's too chaotic for you to learn from it, then you're not learning anything. Then there is no value to that experience, right? So it's really important actually to use Capricorn. And today the moon is in Capricorn, so actually great day to be doing this live stream because we can always feel, or not always, we can already feel that need, that desire to be more realistic, to be more practical, to be more structured, to be a bit more protective, to look real, right? To look like we can do something, we know something, but not like Aquarius shoving it in your face, right? It's like when it's needed, I'll show them. When it's needed, I'll be there. I'll work that. I'll make that limit and boundary, right? And why is that important for Jupiter in Cancer? Because Jupiter in Cancer is exalted. So, like I said earlier, we can expand and go too far with new feelings and new emotions, with new dreams and new imaginations, with new purposes, connections, and spirituality in general. So, we must create new practicalities, new routines, new patterns, new feelings and emotions that are real, that are about survivability, responsibility, and status to basically place those new feelings in, to basically place those new emotions, those new purpose and spiritual desire to travel and expand. We must capture them in our Pokeball, in this case, the new limits and boundaries. But the thing is, the reality, the structure, the limits, boundaries, networking, and association must be as creative, as new, and as fresh as the new feelings that we're trying to encapsulate. And they must be still exciting, creative, and emotional, and private, caring, personal. Otherwise, you'll not be able to put the water into that cup. The water will overflow. And what is the water in this metaphor? The new expansions, the new wisdom, and the new knowledge about dreams, illusions, imagination, spirituality, manifestation, etc. So if you don't create the capsules or the cups, the jars, in a new, innovative, and practical way, if it's not new and innovative, if it's not emotional, or if it's not ready to be emotional, you'll not be able to capture and actually utilize, be practical about those new Jupiter things. Actually, you'll be washed away and you'll be expanded and not the one expanding. You know what I'm saying? So, now, with that out of the way, I hope now you understand a bit more the power, but also the responsibility with this new alignment. And then, depending on the house where this alignment is going through, and depending on how you are aligning this alignment, it might be easier or harder to expand. It might be easier or harder to make it make sense and make it profitable and usable, or it might be very spontaneous because of the cardinal element. You might be feeling really good, and now boom, you're expanding, creating new feelings, emotions, dreams, illusions, imaginations. You want to travel here physically, you want to travel there mentally, you want to travel there emotionally, you want to experience this new desire. You want, bro, Jupiter in Cancer might be the alignment, if you don't know how to use it, that makes you want to experience bullshit, or once you might want to experience getting spanked, like like it's, if you're not really on point, if you're not looking to be practical and efficiently, but still on an emotional internal way, keep that in mind. With this energy you can expand, and then you might create a new desire that came out of that expanded place that makes no sense. So you might be wanting to experience new desires that make no sense for your current situation. And actually, on another positive way, that can help you improve your financial situation, for example, or your physical circumstances. Because depending on what you were believing, depending on where your faith, what faith, right? Depending on where your faith was allocated, you maybe weren't even imagining and believing other realities. Like, if you can't understand what rich people go through, if you can't understand what it's like to be a rich people, I'm not talking about celebrities and what it looks like. Like, if you don't really know what rich people go through, you can't be a rich person. And what it happens with most people is that they slowly but surely shift their reality more expensive, and then they can handle all those phone calls, they can handle all those orders, they can handle all those taxes, they can handle all that money, all those eyes, all the attention. They know who to help, they know who not to help, they know what taxes to pay first, they know what better payment plans they can do, they know better what the best bank to use, the best person to pay to do a certain job for you. They know also the really rich people. They know when's the best time to take vacation, when's the best time to spend an entire week working. You know what I'm saying? And you might be previously to this alignment. Maybe you were not even like you looking at rich people on TV or something, and you'd be like, "Oh, they have a lot of money. I wish I had a lot of money," but you have no idea of the path. And with Jupiter in Cancer, you might get a little bit crazy, but that can open your perspective so much that now you see the path, or at least you know that it's not the path that you were taking. Like I said earlier, Cancer creates the destination, the path, and the vehicle. So Jupiter, that can all come in a swing. You might be watching a movie, eating popcorn. The popcorn hits your teeth in a certain way. You get a little bit of pain, and then on the next day, 2 days after, you have this very new thought, this very new idea, because Mercury is conjuncting Jupiter, so those things are close together. And that takes you on a train of thought, which is, I think, a very unexplored term, a train of thought, because it's not one thought, it's a train. And the train, usually it's the locomotive, and then all the little carriages, or all the commercial um, I'm only thinking in the word in Portuguese, the commercial containers, right? So it's multiple of them. So a train of thought is initiated by one thought, the locomotive, and then railed together after that thought come more thoughts or imaginations that are being carried by that locomotive. And then they are all together being pushed away. So a new emotion and feeling can create a whole train of thoughts that leads your imagination and practical mentality to a new space, to a more open space, especially right now. Moon is in Capricorn, so it's easier to feel comfortable and to feel real in the new imaginations and in your new dreams coming from Jupiter in Cancer. And now let's see how Jupiter in Cancer is aligning with the rest of the natal chart. By the way, Jupiter is 0 degrees Cancer, so it's starting its journey, and I'm pretty sure it will go into retrograde before it reaches 15 degrees. Before it really starts appearing more apparent in our real life. Like, if you have a lot of water elements, if you have perhaps air elements into water houses, you can see these things coming first. You can get certain feelings. Maybe people around you work as an example of these alignments and you can associate it. If you learn astrology, tarot, symbolism, numerology, gematria, things about crystals and gems, it can be easier for you to see these things happen in real life. But remember that it's Cancer, so it's still water, so it's more internal, more subconscious, not seen with the real eye. You have to use your other eyes because all of your chakras are eyes and they are associated with organs and specific glandules within your body. So, actually, many times your body is the first real example of these new alignments. The level of energies, your sleep, how you're digesting things, how are you being efficient or not, your focus, your conversations, your body language, whatever. But remember, this is the start of the big emotional, spiritual expansion in new, fresh, and creative ways. So, right now, it's a perfect day to just apply that to your reality. Be courageous, be brave, create new limits, create new boundaries, create new business ideas. In your mind, you don't need to really go and create a business, but like be really fertile with your imagination. Imagine yourself doing your dream business, working your dream job, opening a store. Imagine how it would be to serve those clients. How happy would you feel to give them what they want within your own style, to sell your stuff or to connect people with what they need? I don't know. It's just an example coming from my own natures, right? But live that life in your mind, in your emotions and feelings. That's important as well. And that's how you get out of physical situations into other physical situations. First goes the spirit, then goes the mind, then goes the heart. And sometimes the heart goes first because the heart and the mind are basically the same thing, but in different frequencies, in different vibrations, in different densities, in different areas. So sometimes the heart goes first and then the mind goes. Sometimes the mind goes first and then the heart goes. But lastly, always lastly, but not least, the body goes. And once your body goes, it's way easier to maintain it. Because sometimes you get, imagine you are like a magician, a musician, magician, right? I know. But imagine you're like a musician and your dream is to do a certain gig in a certain place or reach a certain level of status. And you might get into that place or into places that represent that status one, two, three times. But the more you go and the more you spend time in that space, the more likely it is that you keep going there for a very long time, because sometimes we get to certain opportunities, sometimes we get into certain occasions, but then we can't go back there. And sometimes it's not enough for your body to go there once. Then you need to repeat the process. Spirit goes, mind or heart goes, body goes. You need to repeat that to make sure that your body returns there, because your body is the solidification of your spirituality. Your body is the materialization of the memories, the membranes, the travels, the wisdom and knowledge that your spirit is and was developing. That's why medicine that does not associate emotions and feelings, does not associate the spirit, and even astrology or spiritual practices is incomplete. It's still useful, but it's incomplete because your body is the materialization of your spirit. So if you ignore the spirit and even the mind, how can you be sure about your diagnostic? How can you really understand your body if you don't understand what's creating your body? Keyword, slap that on a sign. But um, now I lost the train of thought. I need to go to the station and wait for that train to go by again. We were talking about, yeah, living that life. Got it, real quick. Living that life in your mind. Talk with somebody that is a bit more personal, that you already have a bit more comfort, that you already know them a bit more, and then create, cardinal, a new structure, a new connection, a new association, and talk with them. Share that idea. Oh, I want to be this and that. And they'll be like, oh, right, cool. And oh, if you were doing that, what could have happened? Imagine a customer comes in and they say this, and you're like, oh, I will be like this because my purpose is to be like that. And then your spirit is living. Like your spirit is living in that exact moment. And today it's easier to then make that real. You know what I'm saying? So now let's take a look at Jupiter. We have Jupiter fatal attracting the Sun in Gemini. So that means that we are seeing, acting, and expressing in more light, mutable, lost, and logical ways about these new expansions, these new feelings, and new purposes. So it's a bit easier to communicate, it's a bit easier to make sense and to relate to ours and others, new imaginations, new purpose, and new spirituality in general. But it's also easier for you to be overwhelmed or perturbed by that. It's also easier for you or others to not go as deep as necessary with your visions, actions, and expressions. And most people are very logic, or they just don't know how to relate their emotions and feelings. So you might use the logicality and the lightness to escape and run away from the new feelings, new expansions, and new wisdom and knowledge coming on an exalted way. Then we have Mercury conjuncting Jupiter in Cancer. So our mind, our thoughts, ideas, and how we socialize and analyze are in the same space, in the same way, in the same vibe as our expansions, wisdom, knowledge, travel, and personal testimonies. So it's easier to think, communicate, and analyze about our wisdom and knowledge, about our new purposes and new feelings and new emotions, but it's going to be a bit muddy. It's going to be a bit of a process because this is like innovation. We are innovating spiritually and emotionally with Jupiter, and then we are innovating mentally with Mercury. On yesterday's live stream that we talked about Mercury in Cancer, I used the metaphor that Mercury in Cancer is like a new submarine being built to go underwater and explore sea life and the ocean in general. But first, you're going to build some prototypes. The submarine might break, it might not record well, it might disconnect through the fuel or the signal to the main boat, you know what I'm saying? So, yes, we have here the opportunity to be more logical and more communicative about those new feelings and expansions, but we have to build that first. And we might feel insecure, we might feel dumb, we might feel not logical when it comes to all those things, but it's all about having the desire and the purpose to communicate and relate in a logical way those new spiritual notions and emotions and feelings. Then we have Jupiter in Cancer, sextiling Venus in Taurus, an opportunity to relate in a more fixed and consistent way your privacy, your profit, your value and pleasure that are from and can support new feelings, new emotions, new expansions, and new spiritual belief systems in an exalted way. So it's easy to relate your purposes and find support and find practicality, but it's also easier to commit and give off value in the wrong places with the wrong purposes and expanding in a stable and profitable way in the wrong areas because it's cardinal, it's new Jupiter. So we still learning, and there will be many mistakes. There will be many things that we throw at the wall and they don't stick. But then you have more and more opportunities. That's the cardinal. More and more. You just finish this opportunity, we have another opportunity come right out of the corner. But it's there is an opportunity to commit that in a fixed and consistent way, and then not being able to fully be aware that you have a new opportunity. So you might get a little bit lost trying to keep bringing water to the mill that it's not producing, that's not processing the wheat in the right way because you don't see a way to improve the current mill or to go to a new mill. Then we have Jupiter in Cancer, fatal attracting Mars in Leo, so we can feel more passionate or more frustrated in a consistent, fixed, unique, light, and validated way about new feelings and emotions, new wisdom and knowledge, new spirituality, and new purposes. Jupiter in Cancer is also squaring Saturn in Aries, so we are learning how to create new feelings, new emotions, new comfort, new family, and new pleasure new wisdom and knowledge about spirituality in the subconscious realm, about new structure, new connection, new association, responsibility, limits, boundaries, and new worlds, new circumstances that are more unique, more intense, more powerful, more spiritual, more creative, passionate, frustrated, or that bring or out of the wait or out of the same circumstances that you are in, out of the same structures, networkings, and associations that you already was, you might now feel new frustrations, new passions, or new desires, and you must learn how to create new wisdom and knowledge and new purpose about those things. Then Jupiter in Cancer is also sextiling Uranus in Taurus. So there is a gift to bring new wisdom and knowledge, new feelings and emotions about spirituality and about your purpose when it comes to have stability, structure, and privacy and profit in a consistent and fixed way, yet with freshness, newness, change, and opposition. Then we also have Jupiter in Cancer squaring Neptune in Aries, creating new, comfortable, and emotional wisdom, knowledge, and purpose out of new expressions, new visions, and new desires that are coming out of big subconscious and archetypal parameters of a specific civilization, a specific culture, a specific group of spirits, or the world in general. And lastly, but not least, Jupiter in Cancer in conjuncting Pluto in Aquarius. So, new, emotional, spiritual, moody, or about your purpose expansions and wisdom and knowledge that don't really fit at first glance with the new world where everybody is more connected with a community or with a mind that is logical, fresh, new, and progressive, but still structured, realistic, and fun, or too stubborn in their own communication, in their own mind. Or when you are going through the transformation to become the leader of the community or a part of the community that is more unique, more consistent, more focused about balanced, progressive change, you might be creating new feelings, new emotions that don't seem purposeful, that don't seem to be caring and catering to that transformation, but they are. It just, firstly, cardinal signs or the cardinal sign where Jupiter is in, it's all about creating something new, and Aquarius is about bringing consistency. Jupiter is about expansion, Pluto is about deep transformation. So those things kind of relate. When you expand, you change. You see more, you know more, you feel more. So those two are kind of bridging the conjunction. And then what will bridge more our new expansions and new purpose with the new world, with deep but still logical, efficient, and unique transformations is the care for a family, the care for a group, the care for a good, clean space. But Cancer start from the inside, and by doing something moody or by doing something to define emotional limits and boundaries, and the Aquarius do that in a more expressive, logical, through actions and trying to change something in the world way. But Jupiter in Cancer, in conjuncting Pluto in Aquarius, is in misunderstanding, new wisdom and knowledge, new feelings and emotions coming out of the new world or the process into that new world. And that's everything for today. Thank you very much for watching. Your support is greatly appreciated. I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. Remember to believe in yourself and in all possibilities, and the best way to be is to be your goddamn self. See you.